Hello everyone, this is Paul from Karazin Medicine, and I'm going to be taking you through a systematic study of anatomy. Um, First, there are different systems in the body, and then we are going to be starting with one of the very most important systems, which is the skeletal system. The skeletal system is a part of the locomotory apparatus, and the muscular system makes the other part. And then what they do is that they help in locomotion. And then, without further ado, we are going to be starting. Before going into the skeletal system proper, we are going to be starting with the terms that we use to describe locations of different organs, of different things in the body. So, because by knowing this, then are we going to be able to understand as we go on in this study. So, first of all, we are going to be looking at planes and axes, and then the body, we are going to be looking at it at a particular position, which is called the anatomical position. And the anatomical position has the person standing upright, his chin also facing upwards and his legs slightly apart, his toes facing forward and his hand open. And then this kind of position whereby his hand is open is called a supine position, as we can see in this diagram. The planes and axes are different. The planes, when we talk about planes, we are talking about this. When we look at this line here, a plane, it divides the body into two separate parts. Now we are going to be looking at the basic planes that we have. We have three basic planes. We have the frontal plane. The frontal plane divides the body into the anterior and the posterior section. The frontal plane is also known as the coronal plane. So if this is our anterior section, the posterior part or the dorsal is at the back. Now that's the frontal plane or the coronal plane. We also have our sagittal plane. Our sagittal plane divides the body into left and right. So there is a line going through the middle, and then it divides it into left and right part. And now we have our transverse plane. The transverse plane just divides the body into the upper and the lower parts. So it's just any line that goes transversely this way and divides the body into various parts. So using these planes, we can then describe the body. If I want to describe this man, I can say the pectoralis major muscle is more anterior than probably our subscapular. So it's just terms that we use to describe positions. And now we are going to be looking at the axis. One thing about the axis is that movement occurs on a plane along the axis. So a movement might occur on this particular plane, but the axis will be different. We are going to be looking at it now. We will look at the frontal axis. The frontal axis, also known as, let's say, the x-axis, and from the graph that we know the x-axis is straight down and all that. Then it's also called the mediolateral. So from the name mediolateral, you can get that. The sagittal is known as the z-axis, and the z-axis is kind of like transverse. It's not straight. It's kind of this way. It's oblique. And then the longitudinal axis, which is the y-axis. All right. Then we will now be going straight into the terms, the positions that we have here. Now, I said that our sagittal plane divides the body into left and right, and then so of course now we have our left side and our right side because of the sagittal plane. Our frontal or coronal plane divides the body anteriorly and posteriorly. Our transverse plane divides the body superiorly and inferiorly. Now that is for our trunk, I would say. Now if we look at the extremities, which are this part here, the hands and the legs, there are other names that are used to describe them. If we look at this part of the arm and then this part, you will say this part is proximal than this. And then if you are looking at this, you'll say this part is distal. So from that, we have two new names. We have proximal and distal. And then what that means is proximal, it is closer to the trunk than another part, or distal, it is farther away from the trunk than another part. That's one part. Then we have medial and lateral. Medial means it is closer to the midline of the body. So we have two bones here, two very common bones here, the radius and the ulna. The ulna is here, the radius is here. So we'll say the ulna is medial than the radius, because it's closer to the midline of the body than the radius. And we have also other terms like contralateral, and those ones are just talking about on the same spot. So this is just the summary of the planes and the axis. Next, we are going to begin with the bones, like what makes up this skeletal system, how does it work, and then the various bones that we have there.